Hello and welcome everyone to this guide for the tracking operators Dokkaebi, Lion and Jackal. So just before we start the video, I just wanted to say big thanks to my friends Eric and Drinkolade for helping me making this video, because without them it wouldn't be possible. Now for this video I'm going to be talking about some cool combinations that you can do with the tracking operators and how you can make them more useful than the usual, and with which operators you can combine them to, maximize their potential. So to start off with Lion, most of the time people use his ability to scan if the enemies are moving or not, but there is also a better way of using his scan ability in combination with Fuze. So if you have a destructible surface, preferably floor, and if it's right above the plant side. So what happens there is, as soon as your scan starts running, the Fuze has to use his charge at the same time. So at the moment the charge goes down the destructible floor, the enemy down below will have to move or either die. So once the enemies try to actually move below you, you can see their silhouette and you can try to shoot them, and in most of the situations you will get a kill. Of course, unless the enemy is a 3-speed and it's gonna be a little harder to catch him off guard. But in most of the situations, the Fuze charge is kind of masked behind your charge. So even if they hear it, they will have to move like 100% or they will die. So as I said, if you're not interrupted by a roamer, this kind of situation will most likely benefit for your team, as this combination is really insane. This sort of thing can also be done on some of the walls where you can rappel on, where there is a little bit of a part that is destructible. So on maps that this is possible, it's actually doable in combination of Fuze and Lion. So for an example, on the clubhouse upstairs in the bedroom, there is a destructible part of the wall, even though it's reinforced. So this kind of combination could also work. The second useful thing that you can do is when you are running Lion with some of the shield operators. It is preferably the best to go with the Blitz, as he can push the enemy the fastest. And with that in mind, whenever the Blitz is pushing and you have some destructible walls that are not reinforced, you can possibly get a kill through the wall, because usually the Blitz pushes the enemy roamers away, and at the same time when you combine that with a Lion scan, you will see the enemy silhouette. So either you or Blitz can make that kill through a wall if it is possible. Now for the next thing that you can do as Lion is you can use your scan when there is not a lot of time left on the diffuser for the enemy that has to destroy. Not only is it harder for them to defuse because they will have a lower amount of time, but if they move, they'll be detected. And if they do, you will most likely be able to even get an easy kill through a wall, or just because they're running around the corner trying to get the diffuser, and they'll probably not even care if somebody's there because they just do not have enough time. So if you use it just like that, you might even get a kill, or you'll enable one of your friendlies to eliminate the remaining opponents. Now for the next tip for the Lion, it is when you're using Lion with Jackal. Now if you have a friend that you usually play with and coordinate well, if you play in this kind of combination, most of the times you will get a roamer that is somewhere on the map just waiting to peek you. So what you can do in this kind of combo is, once the Jackal activates his tracker, you can time your scan on Lion in order for the enemy to either move or die at the spot where you can probably wallbang it. So how this works is, once a couple of tracking pings stop, you can use your Lion scan in order to pinpoint the enemy. Even though you might not be able to see him because he does not want to move for the scan, if he was pinged for the last 3 or 4 seconds, he will probably be in the same position. And if he does move, well, he will get spotted and you might get even a easier kill than that. So in most of the situations, you will either get the roamer or he will just back off at the site of the bomb. Now as for the next tip is with the shield operators. So when you have a bomb site, you usually want to put a diffuser as fast as you can and get your friendlies in a location where they can look at the diffuser and defend it. So what Lion can do in this situation is whenever a blitz is trying to plant a bomb within a smoke, what he can do is he can activate his scan in order to mask the plant. And because of all the countdowns and the scan itself, it's really hard to hear that blitz is actually planting in the smoke. And even after the enemy actually tries to get the blitz, you can potentially get a free kill on the enemy through a smoke because you will be able to see the silhouette. And as in most of the situations, this does work unless the blitz gets blown up by a C4. And if nobody has in the vicinity a C4, most of the times this kind of scan will mask the planting of a diffuser. And the last but not the least combination is the combination with Lion and Dokkaebi. So if you potentially know the location of an enemy that is hiding, what you can do is you can activate your Lion scan so you make them not being able to move, so the location of the enemy might still be the same. And even if it is not the same, Dokkaebi activates her logic bomb, and therefore it is even further easier to pinpoint the location of the enemy that's potentially roaming. So with this kind of combination, you do not only make the roamers not being able to move, but you also pinpoint their location with the Dokkaebi's logic bomb. So with this kind of combo, you can potentially catch the random roaming operator on the enemy team. Now to go on the next operator, it is Dokkaebi. So Dokkaebi uses her logic bomb usually to find out the potential location of the enemy if they are nearby by the using of that sound where she's calling their phones. So a lot of people make mistake of using her logic bomb near the start of the round because they might think, well, the enemy might be close, I should be using this to potentially find them. But in most of the situations, the enemies are well hidden. So before using the scan, you should drone where the enemy is, and once you get close to that location, then you should be using her logic bomb in order to pinpoint the enemy. And after that, you could get a kill if you are a sharpshooter. So in most of the situations, the enemy will either have to turn off their phones or they will just hold an angle. And even if they do, you might be able to get a jump on them before they get a jump on you. Second useful thing about Dokkaebi is whenever you kill an enemy player, he drops a phone so you can hack the cameras. What a lot of people do not do is they just stand in the middle of a open area and just hack the phone as it was that easy. But sometimes a roamer will come back to avenge his teammate, so there's a potential that he will try to kill you if he sees you in an open area. So not a lot of people do use smoke in that situation to cover the phone and yourself in that area so you can get that hack on a phone. And even though you are wasting a smoke that could be used to push an area or plant a bomb, you are providing your teammates with a lot of free cameras that they can look on and see if there is an enemy hiding in some of the rooms. The next useful thing that you can do with Dokkaebi is once the diffuser has been planted, in most of the situations, once the timer has gone off a little bit and the enemy has still not appeared, you can use the logic bomb in order to predict where the enemy is going to be coming from based on the sound. So once you use the logic bomb, you will be either able to hear the enemy that is coming near you, or they will try to turn off their phones. And if there's not a lot of time left, they will prefer to go for the plant itself. So you can use that sound in order to maybe hide or just wait for them around the corner if you know where they're coming from and get that kill. And last but not the least useful tip is when you're using Dokkaebi's logic bomb in combination with the IQ's detection gadget for the electronics. So what this does is once you call the enemies with the logic bomb, the enemies will pull up their phones and they'll have to turn it off. So once they do that, you will be able to see their phones with the IQ's electronics detector, and once you do that, you'll be able to either pinpoint where the enemies are with the IQ, or you can potentially even get a free wallbang kill with her pistol, depending if the enemy is close or not and if they are not moving because of the phone. So in most of the situations, This combination is really powerful because the enemies will not expect something like this. And as for the last operator for today, it is Jackal. So most of the people usually when they see footsteps, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna scan this totally. But what you should be actually doing is hiding somewhere in a safe spot and droning the place to see if the enemy is still nearby because of the footsteps that are red. And if you check out the place and see that the enemy player has went away in some other direction, well, you should be safe to scan those footsteps. Now, as for another tip, sometimes you might not even want to scan the footsteps because you will alert the enemy player and they will possibly return from roaming to the bomb site or a secure area where they have to defend. So sometimes you might just want to follow footsteps if they're in one direction, and if they are not, and it's kind of hard to defer where the enemy went, you can just see where the lion is going and you can follow it to the nearby spot of where the enemy player is. So it is a valid tactic to partially scan it. And what's the best with the partial scan is sometimes the enemy will not even pay attention to the side where you're coming from, and you possibly might get an easy kill on them. Of course, you can use Jackal in combination with operators like Lion, but with Dokkaebi, it's even kind of scarier because once you ping the enemy players, there is a possibility they might not even turn their phones off because of the constant pings. And once they're constantly getting pinged by your tracking, they are in no position to turn off their phones. So in case the enemy is running towards you and the ping hasn't still been activated, you will most likely hear the enemy because of the Dokkaebi's logic bomb call. So even if the enemy is on the move, the Jackal and Dokkaebi combination is pretty lethal when it comes to finding an enemy roamer operator. And last but not least is using the Jackal with a shield operator. So once you scan the footsteps, it is an easy process for a shield operator like Blitz to hunt down the enemy player. And even if they do not catch them immediately, what happens is you can just corner the enemy player in a room or make him leave the room and therefore catch him off guard and potentially get a kill with a Jackal. But if that's not the case, well, in most of the situations, the Blitz should be able to get the roaming operator because of all the tracking. So it is a pretty decent combination, just like Lion has with shield, so does Jackal with his tracking. Anyways, this was it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this guide for these 3 tracking operators. I've wanted to do this for a long time and I finally managed to do something like this, finally managed to get the people to do it. And yeah, if you liked the video, smack that like button, and if you didn't, well, you know what to do. If you want me to make some other kind of a guide video, please do comment down below in the comment section and tell me what would you like to see next or whatever you think about this video. As always guys, enjoy playing Rainbow Six Siege and I will be seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.